The story begins with a normal afternoon in the college courtyard. Students were walking, laughing, and talking everywhere. But among all these voices, there was one boy who always stayed quiet. His name was Armand. He liked calm places. He liked to sit alone on the last bench or under a tree. He watched people but never tried to be the center of attention. Armand was simple. Not boring, just simple. He liked a peaceful life. But he didn't know that peace was going to end very soon. On the other side of the courtyard, she walked like a soft breeze. Her name was Sarah. She was friendly, bright, and always surrounded by people. But whenever she smiled, there was a small sadness hiding behind that smile. Most people never noticed it. Armand did. They were in the same college for almost a year, but they never talked. Armand had seen her many times. He would see her laughing with friends, helping teachers, carrying books, or simply sitting quietly under a tree. Her presence had something gentle, something that pulled his attention without any reason. One day, Armand was leaving the library with a book in his hand. He looked up and suddenly stopped. Sarah was standing in front of him, looking confused. "Hi, I need help," she said softly. Armand blinked. He was not used to girls talking to him suddenly. "Help me?" Sarah nodded quickly. "Yes, I need to find the finance department office. Someone told me it's near the library, but I can't find it." Armand pointed to the left side. "It's there. Straight, and then the second door." Sarah looked relieved. "Oh, thank you. I was walking in circles for 10 minutes. Armand gave a small smile. "It happens." She smiled back, and for a moment everything became still. Not romantic, not magical, but simple. A quiet connection, like two strangers, sharing a peaceful second. Sarah started walking toward the office, but then stopped and turned around. "Wait, you are in my English class, right?" Armand felt a small wave of surprise. "Yes, I am." "I knew it," she said. "I saw you sitting on the last bench." Armand nodded slowly. He always sat at the back. He didn't know she ever noticed. Then she left, and Armand walked back to the courtyard. He didn't understand why that small moment stayed in his mind. Maybe because she talked to him. Maybe because of her smile. Maybe because her eyes looked like they were hiding something. Days passed, but that short meeting didn't leave his thoughts. Then, something strange started happening. Every time Armand saw Sarah, she seemed distracted. Her smile looked forced. Her eyes were always searching for someone. She checked her phone every few minutes with a worried expression. She walked fast, as if she wanted to avoid someone. Armand noticed these things, but he never said anything. He didn't want her to think he was watching her. One afternoon, Armand was sitting on the staircase reading his book. Suddenly, Sarah rushed past him. She looked tense. Her breathing was fast, and she kept looking behind her shoulder. Armand stood up in concern. "Are you okay?" She stopped, looked at him with wide, scared eyes, and then forced a smile. Yes, I'm fine." But she didn't look fine at all. Before Armand could ask anything more, she walked away quickly. Later that same day, he saw her again, this time in the garden area. She was arguing quietly with someone on the phone. Her voice was shaking. "No, stop calling me." I said, "It's over. Please don't create a scene." Her tone was soft but filled with fear. Armand stood far away, pretending not to listen, but he could feel something was wrong. Something serious. Sarah ended the call, closed her eyes for a moment, and took a deep breath. When she opened her eyes, she saw Armand standing in the distance. Their eyes met, and she quickly looked away. From that day, Armand knew one thing clearly. Sarah was hiding a problem. A big problem. And he was somehow going to be part of it. After that day, Armand couldn't stop noticing the small changes in Sarah. She still smiled at everyone. Still helped teachers. Still walked with her friends. But her eyes were different now. They were always searching, always alert, as if she expected danger at any moment. Armand didn't want to interfere, but something inside him told him she was hurting one evening. Armand left his classroom later than usual. The corridors were empty. While walking toward the exit, he heard a soft whisper. It sounded like someone trying not to cry. He followed the sound slowly. Near the old notice board, Sarah was standing with her phone pressed to her ear. Her back was turned, but Armand could see her shaking. "Please, I told you to stop," she whispered. "Why are you doing this?" A cold voice came from the other side of the call. Armand couldn't hear the words clearly, but the tone was sharp, like a warning. Sarah's fingers trembled. "No, don't wait for me outside my house. Don't message my friends. Just let me live." Her voice cracked, and she ended the call. She leaned her head against the wall, breathing heavily. Armand wanted to walk away, but his feet didn't move. He didn't want her to feel embarrassed, yet he couldn't see her like this. Finally, he stepped forward. "Sarah." She turned quickly, wiping her eyes fast. "Oh." "Hi," she forced a smile, but it was weaker than before. Armand spoke gently. "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine. Just some personal stuff." Armand didn't believe that, but he nodded anyway. She left in a hurry, and Armand was left standing alone, feeling helpless. The next day, something happened that made everything clear. Armand was crossing the parking lot when he saw a tall boy leaning against a bike. He was staring at Sarah with cold, sharp eyes. Sarah looked uncomfortable, clutching her bag tightly. The boy stepped forward with a smile that didn't feel kind. "Sarah." "Avoiding me again." Sarah stiffened. "Please, not here." "Why not?" he said. "You talked to that library guy yesterday, but you can't talk to me." Armand's heart dropped. "Library guy." He was talking about him. The boy moved closer to her. "Come on, stop pretending. You know, you belong with me." "I don't," she whispered. "We ended everything months ago." He grabbed her wrist. Not harshly, but firm enough to scare her. At that exact moment, Armand walked toward them. He didn't know why. He didn't have a plan. His legs simply moved on their own. Sarah saw him, and her eyes widened, not in fear. But in relief, the boy turned around and stared at Armand. "What do you want?" Armand tried to stay calm. "She asked you to leave her alone."
Ow.
The boy laughed. "And who are you? Her new hero?" Sarah stepped slightly behind Armand, and that made the boy even angrier. "This is between me and her," the boy said. "Stay out of it," Armand swallowed. His hands were shaking, but he didn't step back. "Then listen to her," Armand said. "She doesn't want to talk to you." The boy stared at him for a long second. His jaw tightened. His eyes turned colder. Finally, he let go of Sarah's wrist. "Fine, go, but this isn't over." He walked away, but his stare stayed like a threat in the air. Sarah exhaled slowly, almost collapsing. Armand looked at her. "Are you all right?" She nodded, but her eyes filled with tears. "His name is Zane. My ex. He doesn't accept the breakup. He follows me everywhere. He texts my friends to ask where I am. He waits outside my house. He thinks I will come back." Armand listened silently. "I tried to handle it alone," she continued. "But it's getting worse." Armand spoke softly. "You're not alone." Sarah looked at him with tired eyes. For the first time, she allowed herself to show how scared she truly was. And at that moment, Armand realized something. This was not just her problem anymore. Somewhere between the fear in her voice and the trust in her eyes, he had become part of her story. For the next few days, Sarah avoided the parking lot, avoided crowded hallways, and even avoided sitting with her friends. She tried to act normal, but her eyes always checked every corner. Every shadow made her jump. Every sound made her look back. Armand watched all of this quietly. He didn't want to force her to talk, but he also couldn't ignore what he saw. One afternoon, he found her sitting alone under a tree near the garden area. It was the same place where she used to laugh with her friends. But now, she sat with her arms wrapped around her knees, staring at the ground. Armand approached slowly. "Can I sit?" Sarah looked up surprised, then nodded. He sat next to her, keeping a respectful distance. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind moved the leaves gently, creating soft rustling sounds. Finally, Sarah broke the silence. "I'm sorry you had to see all that with Zane." "You don't need to say sorry," Armand said. "But you don't look okay." She gave a tired little smile. "I'm trying." But he doesn't stop. Armand waited patiently. Sarah looked ahead, her voice low. "He thinks no one can replace him. He thinks I will come back if he scares me enough." "That's wrong," Armand said firmly. "I know," she whispered. "But he doesn't understand that." There was a long pause. Then she said something unexpected. "I want him to believe I've moved on." Armand turned his head. "Moved on? How?" She took a breath. "By showing him I'm with someone else?" Armand blinked. "Someone else?" "Yes." She looked nervous. "Someone he won't dare to mess with. Someone he sees with me. In public." Armand still didn't understand where this was going. "Who?" Sarah hesitated. "You." Armand froze. The word hung in the air like a shock. She looked down, twisting her fingers nervously. "I know it sounds crazy, but he already noticed you that day. He thinks you are important to me." Armand's heartbeat picked up. "And what do you want me to do?" "I want you to pretend," she said quietly. "Pretend you are close to me. Not dating. Not romantic. Just close enough that he stays away." Armand was silent. Not because he didn't want to help, but because he wasn't expecting this. Sarah continued softly. "I wouldn't ask you if I had another option. But right now I don't." Armand looked at her face. She wasn't using him. She wasn't playing a game. She was scared, really scared. And she trusted him enough to ask for help. He exhaled slowly. "Okay, tell me what you need me to do." Her eyes filled with relief. "Thank you, Armand. I just need you to walk with me sometimes. Sit near me. Talk to me. Nothing dramatic." Armand nodded. "I can do that. Just for a few days," she added softly, "until he gives up." Armand wasn't sure a few days would change anything, but he didn't argue. The next morning, they began the plan. Armand walked with Sarah to class. It was unusual for him. He never walked with anyone. Students noticed immediately. Some whispered. Some smiled knowingly. Sarah acted normal, as if it wasn't a big deal. But Armand could feel her hand trembling slightly whenever Zane appeared in the distance. During lunch, Sarah sat beside Armand at a table in the courtyard. She pretended to show him something on her phone, leaning closer than usual. Armand's face turned warm, but he didn't move away. He saw Zane standing under a tree, watching them with dark eyes. Sarah whispered, "He's staring." "Just keep talking." Armand nodded, though his heart was racing. So he talked about teachers, assignments, random things. And Sarah listened, giving small laughs, as if everything was natural. Zane watched them for long minutes before finally walking away. Sarah let out a quiet breath. Good, it worked. Armand wasn't sure. Zane's look didn't seem like someone who was giving up. It seemed like someone planning something else. But Armand kept that thought to himself. Sarah looked at him with gratitude. "Thank you. I feel a little safer when you're around." Armand felt a strange warmth in his chest. He didn't know what this feeling was, but it made him want to stay by her side even more. He didn't realize it yet, but helping her was slowly pulling him deeper into a story he never expected to be part of. The college cultural festival arrived. Like a storm, bright lights, loud music, decorated stalls, and hundreds of students walking around excitedly. It was the kind of day meant for fun, but for Sarah. It was another place where Zane might appear from any corner. Armand didn't usually attend festivals. He preferred quiet places. But today he came only because Sarah had asked him. "Just stay somewhere near," she had said softly. "It makes me feel safe." So Armand stayed. Sarah was helping her friends at a booth, arranging handmade cards. She smiled, she talked, she laughed, but Armand could see the tension hidden behind her cheerful expressions. Every few minutes, she checked her phone. Every now and then, her eyes scanned the crowd. Armand stood at a little distance, leaning against a pillar, watching everything closely. For a while, everything seemed calm until it wasn't. Armand felt a strange shift in the atmosphere. The way Sarah's smile faded. The way her hand froze midair. The way her eyes went from relaxed to frightened within a second. She wasn't looking at her friends anymore. She wasn't looking at the booth. She was looking at someone behind Armand. Armand turned slowly. Zayn? He was walking toward the booth with a cold expression, hands in his pockets, and a fake smile on his face. Students around him didn't notice anything unusual. But Armand felt the sharp tension cutting the air. Zayn reached the booth and looked straight at Sarah. "Hi," he said calmly, too calmly. Sarah stepped back. Her friends looked confused, but none of them understood what was happening. Zayn smiled. "You look busy, but I thought we could talk. You've been ignoring me." Sarah trembled. "Zayn, please?" "Not here." Zayn leaned closer. "Why not?" "You have time for everyone else, especially him." He glanced at Armand with a smirk. Sarah's eyes darted to Armand in panic. She whispered something under her breath. But he couldn't hear from the distance. Then something unexpected happened. Zayn grabbed Sarah's wrist knot violently, but firmly enough to scare her. "Let's go outside for a minute." Sarah tried to pull her hand back. "Nah, stop." Her friends froze, not knowing what to do. In that moment, Armand moved without thinking. He walked straight toward them, eyes locked on Zayn. His voice was calm but strong. "Let go." Zayn turned his head slowly, annoyed. "Look who's here." The library boy again. Armand didn't react to the insult. He just stood beside them. Sarah pulled her wrist free when Zayn got distracted. But she was shaking. Zayn looked at Armand with a mocking smile. "So, you're the reason she's acting smart?" Armand didn't answer. He didn't need to. But Zayn wasn't going to stop. He stepped closer, too close. That's when Sarah suddenly grabbed Armand's arm. Her fingers dug into his sleeve. Her voice trembled as she whispered only for him, "Make him jealous. Kiss me now." Armand felt his heartbeat stop. He looked at her. Her eyes were pleading, begging for help. This wasn't drama. This wasn't a game. This was fear. Zayn folded his arms, waiting to see Armand step back in embarrassment. But Armand didn't move. Sarah's whisper came again, weaker this time. "Please, just do something." Armand leaned slightly closer, not touching her, not kissing her yet, just close enough that Zayn felt challenged. In a low, steady voice meant only for Sarah, Armand said, "If I do this, I'm not pretending." Sarah's breath caught. Armand placed his hand gently on her waist, pulling her closer with confidence he didn't know he had. She looked up at him in surprise, her cheeks warm, her eyes wide. Zayn's face changed instantly, anger, mixing with disbelief. Armand didn't kiss her, not yet. Instead, he leaned in near her ear and whispered loud enough for Zayn to hear, "I'll do much more than that." The words dropped like fire. Students nearby turned. Zayn's fists clenched. Sarah froze, breathless. Armand slowly lifted Sarah's chin with his hand. Their eyes met his steady, hers trembling. He wasn't acting. Not a little. Not anymore. Everyone around stared, expecting a kiss. Even Zayn. Waiting, burning. But Armand paused right there, holding Sarah close, giving Zayn a message. She isn't alone. She isn't scared. And he isn't stepping back. The festival noise faded. The crowd became distant, and in the middle of everything, a quiet storm began, a new connection neither of them saw coming. The moment Armand pulled Sarah close, everything around them changed. The crowd didn't understand the tension, but they felt the heat of the scene. Some whispered, some stared, some smiled, thinking it was romantic drama. But the three people who truly knew what was happening were frozen in their own storm. Zayn's jaw tightened. His eyes darkened like someone had thrown cold fire inside him. He stepped closer, but Armand didn't move an inch. His arms stayed securely around Sarah, steady and protective. For the first time, Zayn wasn't in control. He looked at Sarah with disbelief. "So, this is who you chose?" Sarah didn't answer. Her chest rose and fell with shaky breaths. She wasn't acting. She wasn't pretending. She was simply trying to stand safely without falling apart. Armand spoke calmly. She doesn't need to choose. She already said she doesn't want you. Zayn looked at him with fury. You think you can protect her from me? You don't know anything about us? Armand replied softly. I know enough. The crowd was watching too closely now. A teacher approached the area, causing Zayn to take a step back. He threw one last look at Sarah. This isn't over. Sarah flinched slightly. And then Zayn turned and walked away through the crowd. The moment he disappeared, Sarah's legs gave up. She almost fell, but Armand held her firmly by the shoulders. Hey, you okay? He asked gently. Her voice trembled. I don't know. He guided her toward a quiet corner behind the main stage, a place where the noise felt far away. Sarah sat down on a bench, her hands covering her face. Her whole body was shaking. Not from fear anymore, but from the weight of everything she had been holding inside for months. Armand sat beside her, giving her space but not leaving her alone. After a minute, Sarah whispered, I didn't think he would come today. You don't have to explain, Armand said. Sarah lowered her hands slowly. Tears had gathered in her eyes, but she wiped them away quickly. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. You didn't deserve to be part of this mess. Armand shook his head. I came because you asked me, and I don't regret it. She took a deep breath. But what you did today? It was too much. You didn't have to go that far. Armand looked at her carefully. Would you rather I had stepped away? Sarah opened her mouth to reply, but stopped. Her eyes lowered. No, she admitted quietly. I felt safe. Really safe. For the first time, those simple words warmed something inside Armand. Sarah continued slowly. But when you said, I'll do much more than that, it didn't sound like acting. Armand hesitated. Then he said softly, because it wasn't. Sarah's eyes lifted instantly, meeting his. There was surprise in her expression, mixed with something else she didn't want to name. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Sarah's voice came weakly. Armand, I don't want to be someone who just uses you to escape from him. You're not using me, Armand replied. You trusted me. That's different. Sarah looked down at her hands again, but everything got complicated today. People were watching. Zayn saw us. He won't stop now. Armand leaned forward slightly. Then I'm not leaving. She looked at him, confused. Why? He swallowed, choosing his words carefully. Because you need someone by your side who isn't scared of him. And because I want to be here, with you. Sarah's breath caught. The tension between them had changed. No longer fear. Not entirely romance, but a new emotional space neither of them understood yet. After a moment, Sarah whispered, I don't know what I feel. Everything is mixed. I'm scared, but I also feel safe when you're near. That's enough, Armand said softly. One step at a time. She bit her lower lip and nodded. The festival noise continued in the distance. But in that small corner, the world felt quiet. Before standing, Sarah gently placed her hand on Armand's arm. Thank you. For today, she said. For not letting me fall? Armand gave a small smile. I'm not planning to let you fall at all. Sarah didn't answer. But the way she looked at him said more than words ever could. Something had changed between them. Something real. Something fragile. Something powerful. And now, the story was no longer just about escaping Zayn. It was about facing unexpected feelings neither of them were ready for. For the next few days, things felt strangely calm. Zayn didn't appear anywhere, no messages, no sudden visits, no unwanted calls. It was unusual, almost suspicious. But it gave Sarah a small moment of peace. Armand continued walking her to class, sitting near her in the cafeteria and staying around during break hours. None of it felt forced anymore. It had become natural-like to people who were slowly building an unspoken bond. Sarah still looked nervous sometimes.
Nice.
When Armand was around, her shoulders relaxed. Her steps were steady. Her smile felt real again. One morning, Sarah found Armand waiting near the library stairs. When he saw her, he stood up quickly, brushing dust from his jeans. You don't have to wait for me every day, she said softly. I know, Armand replied. But I want to... Sarah's face warmed at his honesty. Thank you. Wait. They walked side by side without speaking. The silence between them wasn't awkward now. It felt calming. After class, they sat under their usual tree. A cool breeze passed through the leaves, making everything feel softer. Sarah took a deep breath. Armand, can I ask you something? Of course, he said that day. When I told you to kiss me, her voice weakened. Why'd you say I'll do much more than that? Armand didn't answer immediately. He looked at the grass, gathering courage. When he finally spoke, his voice was gentle. Because I care. More than I expected. More than I planned. Sarah's eyes softened, but her expression also showed conflict. I'm scared, she whispered. Not because of Zane, but because I don't know if I'm ready to feel anything again. You don't have to rush, Armand said. I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to feel safe. That's all. Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled, small, fragile, but genuine. You make me feel safe, she admitted. It was the closest she had ever come to confessing anything. Armand's heart warmed, but he stayed calm. That's enough for now. Just when everything felt like it was finally healing, life decided to twist the story again, that evening. Sarah was walking toward the college gate with Armin. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange. Students laughed and chatted around them. Everything looked normal, but nothing stays normal forever. As they reached the gate, a black car stopped sharply in front of them. It wasn't loud, but it came too close. Too fast. Armand instinctively moved, Sarah behind him. The car window rolled down Zane. His face was calm to calm, but his eyes held something cold and determined. Sarah's breath hitched. Armand. Armand stepped closer to Zane's car. What do you want? Zane smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. Relax. I'm not here to fight. Then leave, Armand said. Zane ignored him. His eyes moved to Sarah. I realized something, he said. You didn't choose him because you love him. You chose him because you're scared of me. Sarah's voice shook. Zane, please. But Zane continued, and fear doesn't last forever. But emotions? Real emotions? They don't come so easily. Armand clenched his fists. She doesn't want to talk to you. Zane raised an eyebrow. I wasn't talking to you. Then he looked at Sarah again, his eyes sharp. You think he can save you? Protect you? Fine, let him try. But don't forget your story with me isn't over. You may pretend all you want, but I know you too well. Sarah's legs trembled. Armand grabbed her hand gently, supporting her. Zane watched their hands, then smirked. Cute. Very cute. Started the engine, but remember this, he said, leaning slightly out of the window. I don't accept losing. The car sped away, leaving dust behind, but taking peace with it. Sarah held Armin's arm tightly. Why won't he stop? She whispered, her voice shaking. Armin looked at the road where the car disappeared. He will stop, Armin said quietly. But we need to be careful now. Sarah nodded, fear returning to her eyes. But something else was there to trust. Hope and a silent promise. Armand squeezed her hand gently. This fight, you're not facing it alone anymore. And as the sky darkened, one thing became clear. Their story wasn't ending. It was only getting deeper, more dangerous, and far more real.